I was sitting here waiting for the kids to get off the bus so I can pick them up. And I said, you know what? I'll make a video. There's so much to talk about. What a great day the open house was yesterday. It was so cold. I got there in the morning, and I know it said it was supposed to warm up to 0. So I kept waiting for it to get warmer, waiting for it to get warmer, waiting for it to get warmer. It didn't get warmer at all. So it was pretty cold right throughout the day, and I was so surprised. You know, the parking lot was jammed, and you know, all the drinks, all the food, everything was gone. There was over, I think Kelly said there was 275 people there. It's hard to believe. 10 different states. People from 10 different states were on the premises yesterday on a Sunday, a cold Sunday. My brother Mark's birthday was that day. I said hello to him. Just an incredible day. We got to take a real good look at some horses that were really impressive. Now, we weren't supposed to be going fast miles with them. There was a couple of them you could tell they were going training miles that stood out. But for the most part, everybody just got a lot of experience. You could tell there were some horses. They're still pretty rough around the edges. But all I can say to the people that own those horses are like, you know, what's going on? Just use this as a reference when we get to June. A horse that comes to mind exactly is Pine Creek. Very timid, very sensitive filly. And she needs some equipment, but she's not ready to have it put on yet. You know, that trust isn't there yet. And I think if we just threw that gear on her and forced her to do her work, it would be a week of fighting with her. And I think we just need another week to work with her. And I told Brett when he went out, I said, it's not going to be pretty. She can trot. If you get her trotting good, perfect. Let her trot. Some of the shots, the handheld shots from up on the track where my brother Lloyd, you could tell as she went by, she's like looking over at him. She's just timid. And you could see some horses were a little rough around the edges, and some were dialed in already. Couple of scratches because of sickness. If you were watching the simulcast, if you were watching the live feed, you could tell that even I was surprised. A couple were very late scratches, and you know, kudos to Danny O'Brien, who was in charge of that barn down there, and we knew there was a few that had elevated temperatures on Saturday. And I said, you know, if they don't look 100%, don't go with them. You know, again, this is just more of the way we're going to deal with sickness this year. If they're not 100%, they're just not going. And great job by Danny O'Brien to catch that yesterday. Beach Bum BB actually jogged around the track a couple of laps and coughed a few times, and Danny told him to take her in. Perfect. Forged in Fire is a colt that's had a temperature off and on for a week or so. These horses are just going to go out in the field for 10 days, and put yourself in my shoes. It sucks. You know, we have a lot of shares available in a horse like Forged in Fire, and make no mistake, they will be sold quickly when you see him on the track, but he's not healthy. And to make that decision, I'm glad that Danny made that decision. A long old year, as we found out last year, we need these horses training down healthy, and he did a great job there. Now, off the top, I kept it, you know, I have a pretty open life, pretty open stable, and I like it that way. But there's some things that go unsaid, some things that not need said, and a lot of people had asked me, hey, where's Amy Saturday night? Hey, where's Amy on Sunday? My wife has high blood pressure. I know it's not for me. I know everybody said, well, I wonder how that happened. It's not for me, just with the whole pregnancy thing, and she was admitted to the hospital where she's going to stay until she gives birth, and that's a little hurtful, really sad for me, but I feel bad for our clients. I know I was a couple of days getting back to you guys with emails and texts, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not going to say, oh, my wife's sick. That's not me. Do it or you don't. There's no excuses. And I'm working through them, and I'm getting that all done. My parents are going to stay up for a couple of weeks and help out. As you can imagine, it's a little stressful. My wife's due date is February 19th. So she's not going to carry to term, obviously. The longer the better, and I hope she does, but maybe she's going to go stir crazy. But TheStable.ca isn't about me. It's not about my wife. We do have a personal life too sometimes, and I was debating whether I was even going to mention it, but we do have a really tight-knit community. A lot of people that care about what goes on, not just with the business side of the stable, but the personal side. You know, all summer I had people saying to me, you know, get some sleep. take some time, slow down. And it's the same with my wife. She goes nonstop, and obviously with the pregnancy, we were very happy and excited. But I want to make sure, then she wants to make sure, and the hospital wants to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So she's in the hospital. It's not the end of the world. The kids understand what's going on, and luckily I have a lot of brothers and sister-in-laws that live around here now, a lot of friends, and my mother and father are staying up now. My mother for an extended period of time, my father through Christmas. So we're all right in that regard. But for the people wondering, hey, where is Amy? Amy's at a commission for a little while, but that's all right. She's healthy. She's happy. She's at the hospital. So we'll get past that little tidbit. For those of you wondering, where is she? She's busy. She's at the hospital, laying low and taking care of what's most important, and that's our family. So that's that. We had a lot go on at the open house. We had a lot of people. Rick Vive was there. For those of you that are hockey buffs, you know that Rick Vive, how did my father put it? I don't want to get this wrong. Rick Vive has both the top 2 or top 3 scoring records for goals in a year in Toronto. First player, second player, and third player to score 50 goals for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was the captain forever, and he's not originally from PEI, but he spent most of his childhood and his life in PEI, leading up to when he moved away for major hockey for the NHL. And my father knew him a long time ago. He was that was before my time. I may have been around, but I was only young, and I never did get to meet Mr. Vive until the other night at Mohawk. Very, very nice man. Really excited to be involved with Mo Better this year, and now McPherson Thunder, his brother, really enthusiastic. And then when he got to watch him go on Sunday, he's like, I think I want to buy more. He said, I really, really like this horse. And so we're always enthusiastic. We're lucky, obviously, to have somewhat of a legend, I guess, in Toronto Maple Leaf hockey, being involved with the stable, but also just a nice gentleman in his own right. So appreciate him. He came out to the dinner on Saturday, got to meet our clients. Then he came out to the open house, and I had somebody say, why didn't you introduce him to everybody? I didn't bring Rick Vive to the dinner. I didn't make it known that, hey, Rick Vive's coming, or he's a man too, and I want him to have fun at the open house. He wasn't there to sign autographs or shake hands, and he did get to meet a lot of people, a lot of his partners, but at the same time, we're just glad to have him involved. Just another client having a good time at TheStable.ca, and what a time it was on Sunday. Just really, really fun. We had 64 people show up to the dinner on Saturday night. That was a ton of fun. And then again, creeping up to 300 people, at the open house in the freezing cold on Sunday. And man, oh man, were we treated to some nice looking horses. I told you guys, and I'm biased, but I wasn't going with them on Sunday. When you have drivers coming off the track asking if there's shares available in horses they just went with, it's a pretty good feeling. And a number of the drivers were very interested in some of the horses they went with, for obvious reasons. You got to see some real talent in some trotters and some pacers, and really show their stuff. We had people from all over the world asking about these horses. It's such an incredible feeling when you get people from literally all over the world saying, hey, is there any shares left in that horse? Or hey, who is that horse? Or just random people watch some of the feed on Facebook and say, just really nice horse. So we'll touch on that. I have a bunch of horses here. I just went through the list A to Z, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm missing 3 babies somehow. There's 76 on this list, unless I counted wrong, and I know there's 79 eating feed right now. No, 78, JM Dust Storm Line. I'm still missing 1 or 2. I'll get that all right, but I'll get it all fixed up. So I want to touch on the horses that impressed the hell out of me yesterday. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, exactly 15 horses impressed the hell out of me yesterday. A lot of horses, maybe they didn't make the list because I expected them to look good, and they look good, but these were horses that really surprised me. Now, a horse like Sebastian Yu made the list just because he looked so fluid out there, and I was really happy with the way he looked. Olympic Hopeful where the hell did this horse come from? You may not have noticed her just because she was out there, but the way she trotted, the way she looked, and how strong she looked doing it for a filly coming off OCD surgery was incredible to me. I was floored when I saw this filly go. So anyway, we'll touch on those 15 horses in just a minute. Also had a little guest appearance from our newest stable entry, and that is a little wiener, a little weanling. His name is First Glance, beautiful little roan colt. I couldn't believe, snapped a leech. These are babies. Snapped a leech hank on them, walked them up the ramp, walked them up to the fence, and everybody kept filing out, wanting to pet him and look at him. He just walked over and let everybody pet him along the fence. It was incredible. Truck was going by. These babies are going by, kind of post-braiding, whatever, for the next heat. And here's this weanling right up against the fence, letting everybody pat him. Well-bred, the only gray thinking out loud in existence on Earth, roan gray, either one. And we have him. His name's First Glance. He sold a ton of shares right away, like within minutes. There's still shares available of him, and there'll be shares. He'll be sold out soon enough. But what a beautiful colt he is. Well-bred. If you want to go on our site and look at his pedigree, I think they have it uploaded. If they don't, simply ask me and I'll send it to them. I don't have it in front of me. Maybe I should, but I don't have it in front of me. Just a beautiful colt. Wait, I may have it in front of me. Just a beautiful colt. Looks great. And he's ours. So I don't know how the program went. Let's see if I can find it quick. It's not looking good. Yeah, no, I don't think they have it uploaded or in here. If it's in your programs, download your programs, but I can't find it. Anyway, his name's First Glance. He is a thinking out loud weanling. He's ours forever and ever and ever, for a while anyway, and what a beautiful colt. So, that's some of the highlights. We had a lot of people there. We had a lot of people send emails, send messages. Obviously, the person that wasn't there is the most special to me, but she'll be back in action in no time. So, that's the opening. I'm going to give you a rundown of 15 horses that impressed the hell out of me yesterday. A bunch of other horses. I'm going to run through all the horses, let you know what I thought of them, what their drivers thought of them, how I think they're coming, what I'd like to see from them in the future. Then we're going to get to the stables. An entire slew of horses ready to qualify. Some big training miles on Saturday I'm going to bring to you. A lot going on, a lot to talk about. I'll be back in just a minute. Got to go get the kids at the bus stop. I'm going to spend a little time with you, and then it's off to see Amy. So, be back in a minute. We're going to talk about some horses that really impressed me yesterday at the open house. I thought it would be appropriate not to put in the rundown, but have our own little segment explaining how important it was to hire Kelly Spencer. You guys, for those of you waiting for the information, you found it out at the open house. Some of you knew before, I'm sure. Some people suspected when Kelly Spencer announced that she was leaving Grand River Raceway after 21 years and after all the work she's done with us. A lot of people put two and two together and figured out what was going on when you looked at the money we were putting out for the infrastructure of the site and this new person we were hiring, somebody of substantial caliber. And that's exactly what you got, and what I got, and what we got was somebody that virtually floated an entire ship. Sure, she didn't run Grand River Raceway, but every piece of marketing, advertising, and really genius that came out of Grand River. You ask any racetrack in North America that follows all the tracks in North America and say, who puts on a great show? Everybody knows who Kelly Spencer is. Everybody knows where Grand River was and what they did. All those wiener dog races you see all over North America now, that was her. All those little events. I remember she set the bar year after year after year for people in horse racing. Now, that bar was, she was handcuffed also because she was in horse racing. We took those handcuffs off. We're trying to blaze a new trail for this industry, and we needed you. Obviously, by the looks of, I don't know, I think if I look close, we probably went over 600 clients the other day after the open house, but we're going to continue to say, closing in on 600 clients. We'll get to 1,000 by June, and we'll get there with Kelly Spencer and myself running the stable. I have to focus on, obviously, my wife is giving birth, so that is a significant loss to the barn. She's still going to be around, but not doing what she does. And I don't think anybody, and to be honest, including myself, realized what kind of a role my wife played until she simply wasn't here. There's 79 horses that have to be trained down, obviously with the hirings of Mario Bergeron, Harry Poulton, Kevin McMaster, Jason McGinnis over the last few years. Danny O'Brien has been a pillar in my barn for not one but 2 tours in my barn. When I had a big barn, we were racing overnight horses in 2007, 2008. Danny O'Brien was right there, and then he has his own horses also, and now he's back for another tour starting a couple of years ago. And having guys like that are dedicated, that are smart, that understand what their job is, it's important. Look at any successful business, company, sporting event, restaurant, anything. You have to have a fantastic supporting cast. And TheStable.ca is certainly not Anthony McDonald. TheStable.ca is down there. And there's a lot of people. There's, when you factor in the blacksmiths, the vets, there's over 40 people that rely on TheStable.ca right here in Ontario to collect a significant paycheck and help them along the way. I said to somebody the other day, you want to know what kind of an impact the stable has had? If you cut TheStable.ca into 2 halves, 2 equal halves, we'd have the 2 biggest stables in Canada, racing stables. So as all these other giant stables are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, we're growing because we are moving in a different direction. We're not looking to fish in the same pond of all the other trainers and trying to convince all the other owners that have been in this game forever to go with them instead of Joe. I don't need to do that. That pool, that pond, has shrunk significantly over the last 3 decades, and it's only going to continue to, because to make a business model to turn a profit in horse racing is an outlandish thought. It's an extremely hard thing. It's quite a ways below, but on the same road as assuming because you spend a lot of money buying lottery tickets, you will win the lottery. And it's a very difficult business proposition. But when you look at entertainment, you look at the experience that we are trying our hardest to bring to everybody with the app, with the back end of our site, with the front end, with the communication, all the stuff that we're trying to do, it's because that's what the people in the general public, that's what you expect when you go to the movies, when you go to a restaurant, when you go to a hotel. You expect a certain level of customer service, and it's not found in this industry. And you can tell it's not found in this industry by the way people walk up to me and say, I don't know how you do it. I used to think that was flattering. I used to be flattered when people say, I don't know how you do it. Now I'm just frustrated. You don't know how I do it. I do it because I have to. I do it because everybody has to. The way forward for this industry isn't magic potions and new forms of wagering. It's rolling up your sleeves and getting to work. Kelly gets that. Danny gets that. Mario Bergeron, he gets that. He understands that he's not a young man anymore, and this is a young man's sport. He understands he's not a young man anymore, but he can do something different. He can turn the page and write a new chapter in his life right here with us. He's smart enough to get that. Harry Poulton, Kevin McMaster, they get it. And other people will too. But you have to understand there has to be a heightened level of customer service in this industry. And that's all we try and do. I make it very clear to everybody when we hire them. Every single person that walks through this door, treat them like it's the only thing keeping you employed. Because they are. They are. No clients, no job. And it's the same for me. I'm not stopping here. We're going to push forward in a big way this spring. You're going to see the things that we've been working on and the things that I've been trying to form. And there's been a lot of help given to me along the way from a lot of people. And for the people that think they go unnoticed, maybe I don't call them out or mention their names publicly, that's my fault. And I apologize, but you know who you are. There's a lot of people that are TheStable.ca. Certainly not just me. And TheStable.ca isn't the savior of the industry, but the model we put forward and versions of it will be. 100% will be. And it is the only way forward. Before it used to be, it's a way forward. It's the only way forward. You look at every other racetrack trying to convince people to wager on horse racing. Here, I'll give you a little tip. For those of you who didn't waste your time and watch my 50-minute speech 54-minute speech in New Zealand, I'll give you the Coles notes. 2 things. One, when horse racing started, it was never started to wager on. It was started because it was fun. it was competitive, it was exciting, it was entertaining, and because it was those four things, people wagered on it. Wagering has always been a byproduct of horse racing. Now, that byproduct is the gas in our engine. It's the reason that we race for money. Wagering is it. Without wagering, we couldn't do this. It would have to be completely paid for by the government, which a lot of the times it is now, not just here. So we have to rely on the byproduct to run the industry, but that's not a big deal. And the example I use is very simple. It's like a bar. At some point, unless you're a kid, you're an adult. We're all adults. You're an adult. You're going out to a bar. You don't go out because they have cheap liquor for sale. Yet the first thing you do when you walk through the door is buy liquor. Because they know they don't have to convince you to buy it when you're there. That's what you're there for. You're there to have something to eat, have something to drink. Some people come there just to drink and watch TV. But it's a bar. You walk in a bar, you drink. It's the same as a racetrack. You walk in a racetrack, you'll wager. At some point, you'll wager. And that was the one thing TheStable.ca couldn't prove. We couldn't prove that if we brought all these people to the tarmacs, all of them came to watch their horses and cheer for their horses, ate chicken wings, drank beer, and had a good time, would they bet? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing's for certain. You are not going to convince people from the general public to come and wager on horse racing. It's too complex. And if they're smart enough to wager, they know the takeouts are too high. They're not going to stop wagering on what they wager on and come wager on horse racing. It's just not going to happen. You have to give them something else. That's where affordable ownership comes in. Because although the people that wager on this game, the dwindling public that wager on horse racing, they're going to stay at home. You're going to watch it on TV. That's what most of them will do. Some will come to the track, but most won't. That's why the population of the track is leaving. Because we don't offer anything else. There's no more added value. Sure, there's a casino at most of the tracks. There's added value. There's not a whole lot of added value otherwise. We need to change that. And the way we can do that is through affordable ownership. And I've asked jurisdictions and tracks, why don't you spend some of your marketing and advertising money to educate horsemen, work with horsemen, and try and get them to go out into the general public, market and advertise with them, have them be a little more open and bring people in, because the message of affordable ownership is immense. It's immense. It's the only game where you can get participation for the cost of admission. It's the only place. You look at what's huge right now. Fantasy sports. You know why it's huge? Because people can't afford to go to games all the time. They want to play games with their friends. They want to wager against their friends, and they get to watch sports to do it. Because it's expensive to go to a Toronto Maple Leafs game, Toronto Blue Jays game, New York Rangers game, Philadelphia Eagles game, wherever the hell you live, it's expensive to go to the sporting event in your town. For that one night out with your family, you can own a piece of a horse for almost a year. That's the cost purchase of the horse and all the bills for almost the entire year for the same price. So when this industry stops focusing on the byproduct and just assume that people, when they get them to the track, they're going to wager, because they will. We have proved that now. But when they start to focus on how to get them to the track, stop focusing on the losing wager that nobody wants to do. Nobody's coming to bet a win 4 or pick 5. Nobody will ever stop what they're doing in the middle of a work day and say, Bob, Rick, we need to go to Woodbine tonight. We need to bet the pick 5. What's a pick 5? Nobody knows. Nobody's interested in wagering on horse racing, especially if they really just want to wager. They really just want to gamble. They can do it online, FanDuel. They can do it a million different ways, or they can just go to a casino. You're assuming they're going to bypass online gambling and going to a casino, forego both of those, and go to a racetrack and wager on it. That's a losing bet. But that's what we've been doubling down on horse racing for the last 3 decades. And if you think I'm lying, just look at the families of all the big farms. Every time a big farm closes, the sons and the daughters want nothing to do with the industry, because their fathers and their mothers knew 30 years ago, this is a tough industry, it's a tough way to make a living. Not really sure if I want my daughter and son in this. So there's no more big farms. There's some. You think back. You're old enough. You're out there and you're watching this and you're old enough. Think of all the big farms there used to be and why they're gone. I think we need to just change how we market and advertise. Educate the horsemen. That's the key. Key's always been the one thing that people can have. Something tangible. you can own a piece of the horse on the track. You can't buy a ticket to the Blue Jays and play third base. You can't buy a ticket to the Rangers, start in that. You can't do those things. But you can buy 1% of a horse. And nowhere in the program does it say Joe owns 1% of a horse. And Joe's not saying I own 1% of that horse. He might or he may not, but he's definitely going to tell you that's his horse, because it is. He's going to go out to the track. He's going to watch the horse jog, train. He's going to bring his family out and feed it carrots, talk to the trainer, talk to the grooms. This is what we do. And he's going to go to the track and he's going to watch it race. That is how we bring the next generation of fans, owners, and in turn gamblers in. Keep in mind, ask any racetrack operator a truthful question. Do you think you can expand gaming and horse racing with gamblers? They can either tell you the truth or they can lie to you, one or the other. But the answer is absolutely not. It's very difficult to do. But horse racing brought new gamblers in because they didn't come for the gambling. They came for the entertainment. They came for the competitiveness, the excitement, the experience. And because of those, they wagered on it. The key isn't changing the wagers and trying to attract people and convince them they want something they do not want. The key is attracting them in a different way. Affordable ownership, people come to the track. When they come to the track, they will wager. That's the way forward for horse racing. Said it for 3 years. I don't know how many ways we have to prove it. Sure, TheStable.ca on the grand scheme of things is not going to be able to fix horse racing. But other trainers like ours, other operations, other models like ours, stack them all together, and that is a way forward for the industry. Anyway, that's another sermon. But I was originally talking about how important it was to hire Kelly Spencer. You can only imagine what we're trying to do. It's pretty subjective, pretty specific also. We need to have somebody who has the same vision that I have, the same drive that I have, the same enthusiasm and passion for this industry in this barn, the same way I have. That's an impossible role to fill. Cloning is still illegal. So we needed somebody, and we were very, very lucky to get Kelly Spencer. And I couldn't be happier to have her on board. So starting this month, Kelly Spencer will be the director, I allowed her to pick her title, the Director of Business Development, fantastic title, the Director of Business Development for TheStable.ca. It's a role that I've long since needed somebody to help me with, and now that the stable's growing in the direction it is, obviously the most important thing here, outside of you, the clients, is what you have down there. That's the horses. So we got to make sure that the way the stable trains them, the way they've been trained before in the last 3 years with the success we've had, continues moving forward. The customer service needs to stay the same. It needs to be enhanced. We got the app. We got a lot of stuff going on with TheStable.ca.com. We got a lot of stuff going on with TheStable.ca, the front end of the site. All this stuff, you don't get to see it move. It's moving. And we're very, very lucky to have Kelly Spencer. So, for you out there, the hire of Kelly Spencer is an incredible step forward for TheStable.ca. For Kelly Spencer out there, thank you very, very much for agreeing to come on board and working with me in growing something that will absolutely change racing forever. So, there it is. Kelly Spencer, the new Director of Business Development for TheStable.ca.